Well, good afternoon, good morning if you're on the West Coast. Welcome back to another Facebook Live. I'm Dan Stein. I'm joined again by RJ Hauman. You probably all kind of know RJ by now. We've been doing this for a while. And as I said before, Diamond and Silk have nothing on us because we're going to bring you the latest information on what's happening on Capitol Hill right now. As you remember, last week there was an effort to try to bring up the so-called Goodlatte Bill, Securing America's Borders Act.
Futures
Act, and it almost passed. And RJ is going to tell us what it means that the bill almost passed for the leadership and what's on the agenda for this week. Welcome, RJ.
Yes, thanks, Dan. I would first and foremost want to thank everybody, as you've been probably seeing on Fair social media pages, on our website and our emails, and on the Facebook Live that we did last week. We thank everybody for. Hang on, a little technical difficulty. As you've been probably seeing on Fair social.
We'll get it right.
Sorry for the technical difficulties there. No, again, we want to thank everybody for last week for taking time and taking action to call your elected officials and urge them to oppose Speaker Ryan's amnesty bill, the Border Security and Immigration Reform Act, H.R. 6136. As we told you all last week, that bill does not deliver on many of the reforms that President Trump ran on. It gives an amnesty, an audacious amnesty, to 1.8 million people, has no mandatory e-verify. It does not end chain migration, doesn't truly get rid of the lottery. We urged you to oppose that bill, and guess what happened last week? On Thursday, they announced that the vote was getting delayed. They did not consider that bill. So that just goes to show the amount of pressure that you guys out there put on your elected officials and on leadership to delay this bill. But there was one bill, as you mentioned, that was voted on.
Sam Hunter says that the bill doesn't have e-verify. It's not serious.
That's
not
true.
A serious bill.
And we'll get into that. There's even a little component with how this bill is going to be considered this week, and e-verify works in. But to not get ahead of ourselves first, again, the one bill that was voted on Thursday was the Goodlatte Bill, the Securing America's Future Act. Now, while FAIR does not support the bill, because we don't support anything that has an amnesty in it, we do acknowledge that it was loaded with positive reforms like e-verify, the border wall, ending sanctuary cities, ending chain migration, ending the visa lottery, doing all these great things that we have long called for. So the Goodlatte Bill did fail. However, it got 193 Republican votes. And for months we were told by Paul Ryan and congressional leadership, that this bill has no chance of passing. It's got too many hardline enforcement things in it. Well, the vote yesterday shows how ridiculous that was. Had Speaker Paul Ryan and his leadership team, his allies, leaned into this bill, tried to address member concerns, and whipped it. Now, whipping is trying to get votes for a bill to make sure it passed. If they actually whipped this bill, it likely would have passed. All it needed was 20 more Republicans. So it got 193, and they were faced with the prospect of Ryan's compromise amnesty bill getting less votes than that. So that's why they kicked it to this week. So this week, they're making changes to the Ryan amnesty bill right now. And Dan, one of the things we heard that they're going to add now is add e-verify to the Ryan amnesty bill. They were telling us forever that the reason the Goodlatte bill couldn't pass
is that definite?
Is because it has e-verify in it. That's what we're hearing. Those are where the whispers are.
Can we e-verify?
We can't e-verify these rumors yet.
So I'm sure there's a price to be paid. So
of course,
your
your favorite ag guest worker program is likely going to be included in that as well. But again, those are just things that they said the Goodlatte bill contained that made it impossible to pass, and now they're adding it at the last minute. If they just would have
Why don't they just bring the Goodlatte bill back up again?
I don't know.
With the adding the ag?
Well, it already has the ag in it too, so maybe they just needed to do a couple more tweaks to the Goodlatte bill. But it just goes to show.
So who are they delivering if they bring the e-verify back in? Who are they bringing in that voted against the Goodlatte bill? Who's going to vote for this one?
That's a good question. I mean, you have. I still don't think the Ryan bill, no matter what you put in it, can pass. But we haven't seen the whip count, how many people were considering voting for the Ryan compromise bill. But I feel like that a lot of people that did vote for the Goodlatte bill, because it does have e-verify and other strong enforcement provisions in it, I think they weren't going to vote for the Ryan compromise bill if it didn't contain those things.
So they're going to bring up this bill even though President Trump is saying, look, Democrats aren't going to work with us. Trump's setting up the issue, obviously, for 2018 campaign.
Right.
Democrats are doubling down on extreme radical positions today. There's a new bill to abolish ICE. They want to get rid of ICE. That's a new mantra on the radical wing of the Democratic Party. Why would they bring it up if Trump says let's just wait till 18 and make it an election year?
For two reasons. Number one, you're getting a lot of mixed signals out of the White House. Of course, President Trump did send those tweets this weekend saying, "Oh, what's the point of even going through with this charade and considering these immigration bills? They're dead in the Senate." You know, he took that line. However, last week, President Trump was inviting people to the White House, urging them to support this compromise bill. So, you know, if you're members of Congress, you're seeing a lot of mixed signals coming out there.
Trump supporting the compromise bill?
All the news coming out of the White House and everything is in support of the compromise bill. But
Julie Dixon, one of our commentators, said if it's his four principles, we should get behind it, even if there's an amnesty component.
Well, that's the most ridiculous thing about.
Well, it's not. No, Julie's not ridiculous.
No. I'm saying what the administration did. What's most ridiculous? Julie's not ridiculous. What the most ridiculous thing that the administration did, I think, in my eyes at least, is that they didn't throw their weight behind the Goodlatte bill, which truly addressed all of Trump's four pillars. You know, the Ryan amnesty bill kind of works within his four pillars, but it doesn't deliver all the way. But just one last point of why they're going to vote on this week is, again, remember, the reason why we're even considering these two immigration bills is because we were trying to stave off and stop that discharge petition, which would have resulted in the passage of a DREAM Act, amnesty for 3.5 million people. So as leadership's promise to the discharge petition people, they really have to vote on this bill this week. So it's going to be voted on. We're going to keep you guys informed. We don't know when it is. They're still working through some details.
And we don't know the discharge petition is effectively dead as of when?
As of the discharge petition is effectively dead because the Goodlatte bill formed the base of the discharge petition. I don't want to get too complicated here, but when the Goodlatte bill was voted on, that effectively killed the discharge petition. And discharge petitions can only be brought to the floor on certain Mondays that Congress is in session. The next Monday to do that is December 10th. So there's no chance of the discharge petition ripening before the election. And one more thing to mention as well is everybody's talking about family separation. There will be likely a bill on the floor of the House this week that will override the Flores settlement you've probably heard about, which requires children to be released from detention after 20 days and not be detained with their families. The administration obviously did an executive order. They said they'd flout the Flores settlement and try to detain families together as their claims go through our process. But Republicans are going to bring a bill to the floor that overrides Flores, adds some detention space and immigration judges likely this week as well.
Yeah, Trump's talking about just accelerating the process and doing away with asylum hearings and sending them right back because I guess he's frustrated he can't get the judges down there fast enough, can't detain the juveniles long enough. And he says there's two alternatives, sending them right back or letting them go and they disappear into society.
No, absolutely. Those are things that should be done. You should expedite these hearings as well. A lot of these people are making frivolous asylum claims. They know the magic words. Trump said the password. He could have articulated this a little bit better, but they know the password. It's credible fear. You have credible fear of returning to your homeland.
The question of whether we support a bill or not is an important one. A lot of discussion was had about whether we support the Goodlatte bill or not, and we've made a basic judgment here. We, the American people, have been fooled too many times by promises of future enforcement in exchange for amnesty now. FAIR got behind the compromise in 1986, and in our view, that led to a lot of false promises to the American people. And our view is we don't want to make that mistake again. Nothing about the last election suggested that Donald Trump or the American people should accept an amnesty of any kind as a condition to delivering the core promises he made to the American people in 2016. And we're going to stick to that as we go through this process. And there's virtually no evidence right now that the Senate could move anything adequate to even reflect most of Donald Trump's core principles. Donald Trump correctly observes that it's likely the Republicans will pick up some seats in 2018 because there are far fewer Republicans running for re-election in the Senate in this upcoming election than are Democrats. And in the House, it could go either way, but Trump is saying he does support this compromise, which we don't. By the same token, it's unclear why the president would want to support a compromise that isn't going to do anything but weaken the Republicans' position in the upcoming campaign. FAIR has taken the position that this compromise is not adequate, given all the promises that the president has made and continues to make. And it's up to, if Congress wants to pass small and short bills to overturn, for example, the Flores settlement that prevents them from detaining minors during a certain period of time, that's certainly worthwhile doing. Perhaps in 2019, the administration can come up with a more balanced approach that more strongly reflects what the will of the American people are. So, we welcome your questions and comments about those balancing tests. And Naturally Fair is still very much in support of the wall. We need to build the wall. We need to get the wall built. It's likely to be. Is there going to be some kind of battle on the appropriations front this time around?
Yeah,
September
no.
on
President
the
Trump
wall?
is certainly going to try to obtain some wall funding in September. Obviously, the spending bill that was passed last time around currently runs through the end of the fiscal year, which is, I believe, September 30th. So he's going to have another opportunity to get that money. Do I think he will? No. I mean, there's a lot of opposition to providing him that money. Obviously, the last chunk of money he got had strings attached to it, told him he couldn't build any of his prototypes or anything like that. So I'm kind of doubtful on that, but that's something we'll be urging you guys to contact your elected officials about and remind them that was one of President Trump's key campaign promises. He didn't run on, people weren't chanting at rallies, DACA, DACA, DACA. They were yelling, build the wall. And, I think Congress has a responsibility to do that and ensure that promise is delivered to you, the voters.